Welcome everybody to our session Ctrl Alt Teach, rebooting from end user training to technical training. In the dynamic landscape of Microsoft technologies, trainers often need to reboot their approach to keep pace with evolving demands. Transitioning from teaching end user training to technical training, such as Microsoft Office, or maybe even something simpler something simpler that we have to maybe something more technical, an Azure course, a data and AI course, something that I do quite a lot, Microsoft Power BI, is something that is often challenging to identify, well, how do we take those steps when we would like to teach the next level. So I hope that my session, Ctrl Alt Teach, aims to identify and create a template for MCTs. Well, how do we take that next step? And this is going to be a lot about my personal journey, where I've historically been an office trainer. I've had my glorious moments being an office trainer. And I'm very happy to still be around, but I've now moved on, and I really am enjoying a lot of the technical sides, Power BI being one of them. Last year, December, I managed to get the AI 102 certification, and it's quite a big leap from something like teaching Excel to AI 102. And I'm here to talk about what I really did as preparations to jump from something simple. And well, we can replace those courses with anything. Replace a simple course that you felt that you were delivering, and maybe you need to do something the next level. Could be associate, could be expert. And I hope that we can maybe make this as a discussion as well, inputs from your end on how do we really take it to the next level. What does it mean to be the next level trainer? How do I distinguish myself as somebody who is going to be able to take what I've got so far, the grounding that I have, or even as a new MCT, I will do a couple of sessions and I maybe want to go to the next level. What do I need to do? So by pressing Ctrl Alt Teach, we symbolically initiate a reset. We are altering our control. We are altering our approach, and then enhancing our teach. And we're going to try and address some of the complexities, of this transition, offering some strategies to overcome some of these challenges that we face. So once again, as we come to an end of our MCT Summit, I'd like to thank the sponsors for making this very successful. Let's just give them a round of applause for the people in the room, as well as the session is being recorded, so everybody can see who really made this event quite successful. Just remember, with all the sessions that we've had so far, and even this session here, please remember to give feedback. Go onto the Run Events app, go to the feedback tab and provide feedback for all the sessions, including this one. After it concludes, it really helps us in terms of what we need to know. So a little bit about me. I am a Microsoft 365 MVP as of May last year, but longer than that, a lot of training, Microsoft 365, Microsoft Office, being the community lead since 2020. And one of the things that I like doing in my spare time, which a lot of people don't really know about, because I don't always have the right audience to talk to about it with, is I do a lot of philosophy, like a crazy amount. Just lots of reading, lots of preaching, getting together in a study group with like-minded folks and just talking about all sorts of things in life. And I'm actually going to be bringing in one concept that has really helped me in my journey, and it's not something that I expect we take away. It's not like some sort of a following or a cult, anything that we're going to be joining, but it's almost a universal life concept, and I found that it really helped me push to where I need to be today. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about that. Add me on LinkedIn, and obviously I went on my honeymoon. You all saw that on the first day. Is that yes? I came from my honeymoon and I landed up here, and the honeymoon sort of continues here, and sort of doesn't. Right. So when we are going forward, and when I was on my honeymoon, I just found that there was a lot of festivities, there are lots and lots of things going on. We arrived around Christmas, we went into the New Year, so lots of things going on. It was very, very cold, much colder than where I come from, and there was just a lot of food, like lots and lots of food that I was going through. It was very interesting. I got to experience different cuisines, French, Italian, German, Swiss, Thai, just so many different things. And what I found very interesting about this is that there's so much preparation that went into all of these dishes. Lots of different ingredients used, very interesting methods, and even a way of presenting some of the food was something just mind-blowing. And I just like to thank, this is not part of my session, but I really like to thank Mark, who really allowed me to see all these different places where, when I was in Switzerland, he took me to all these unique places where a lot of the food was being presented. And what I found is that all of this could possibly be related to teaching. So when we look at what we are going to be looking at, when I see us as trainers and the link to food, we are all chefs of learning. We all have our own ingredients. We all have our own methods. We have a certain technique, a recipe possibly, or we are all trying to look for that right recipe so that we get the best presentation. Something that is always appealing, and we always get students coming back to us. We always get jobs or teaching jobs over and over again. So what I aim to look at today is we are going to look at the right ingredients needed. We're going to be looking at the recipe, understanding, well, what are those different steps that we need to follow. And thereafter, the presentation itself. So it's all about, or at the end, we want to get to that presentation. There's a lot of preparation, though, beforehand. And when we put all this together, it presents this gourmet experience that we have. So much like the perfect recipe, we're going to unfold things step by step, gathering all the basics, plating this masterpiece that we have. So we're going to dive into this, Ctrl Alt Teach, and we're going to identify, well, what do we really need to make something quite successful, and maybe bring in a pinch of culinary inspiration. I'm not a food expert. A lot of you will know that, or some of you may know, I am a vegetarian, so My variety of dishes are not the greatest, but I have chosen and seen that I can appreciate what we have out there. So let's look at a little bit about control. So when we have control, every good meal starts with, does anyone know how to pronounce that except for Mark? Mise en place, yes. Right, mise en place, getting all your ingredients in place. So we are collecting all the ingredients in place, and we want to make sure that we identify what are these ingredients. Some ingredients that I've thought of are the skills, the mindset, and the tools. These three things that I found in my journey were really quite important. So when we're talking about skills specifically, we want that willingness to learn. Lots of self-improvement activities I found was the key to growing to be where I am. So we have to always learn, we always have to be certifying, we always have to be looking at different resources and going through as much as we can so that we can learn a lot more. And it's all about also embracing the unknown and being open to a whole lot of new concepts. Related to this, though, is that really drove all of this. So at this point, I'm going to be talking quite a bit about is this mindset. Is that we almost have to, in my view, put ourselves in a different space, have a certain, I don't know if I could call it maybe, I wouldn't say pretense or anything, because because we really are hoping to be the best we can, but maybe putting certain things aside and thinking or presenting yourself a little bit differently. So I'm just going to be talking about something technical related to my philosophy. Remember, I mentioned I do quite a bit of philosophy, and I'm not going to go into the boring details. I actually had like 4 slides on this. I've shortened it down to 2 because it can get very complex. It can be overwhelming and can get confusing, and yeah, there's a lot to actually unpack when we talk about this in great detail. So when I'm doing philosophy, just a little bit about what I am actually into, I really love looking at metaphysics and existentialism. So what those topics are, it's all about trying to identify or unlock your true potential. But there's a way for that. There's a technique for that. So metaphysics and existentialism is a very big topic, but specifically to what I am looking at over here is that I had this willingness to learn. I had all these skills that I was trying to chase, right? So I'm running after all the different things I want to learn. And so what happened was when I started my training career, that was about 2016, I did a lot of Office, a lot of Excel, Word, PowerPoint, all these things that I think Sarah and a few others also started off at some point. And then 2018 was that point, only just 2 years down the line, where I thought, well, this wasn't really enough. I felt that it could have, I wanted something better. I wanted something more challenging. I wanted something more harder. I actually saw a lot of my own colleagues doing some better things, and I thought, well, I got to be there at that level as well. And what I felt, I had this particular burning desire, right? The term burning desire to actually try and be at that point where I know as much as I can at a certain level, much higher than what I am currently at, and I can then maybe tackle something that I'm looking for. So this burning desire is actually a philosophical concept. There is a term for it in the philosophy that I study with, and so I look at the branches of Vedanta philosophy. So Vedanta philosophy, there's a term in Sanskrit called mumukshutvam, and there's a QR code if you want to scan it, you want to read a little bit about it. It's a ChatGPT definition of it. Sorry, Sarah Copilot couldn't figure it out. It's too complex. So it really breaks it down for you, and I've put in a very succinct prompt to try and make it neutral, objective, not something that really would hopefully not confuse you, but it gives you just an understanding of what it's all about. So in the Western philosophy side of things, right, Western philosophy equivalent would closely align with existential aspiration or self-actualization. Maybe that's a term we've heard before by thinkers like Abraham Maslow or even Soren Kierkegaard, from where they talk about a lot of existential and metaphysical concepts that we have here. And what the existentialists actually say is that it describes this as the quest for authenticity and meaning achieved by taking deliberate steps to overcome personal limitations and external constraints. So what that means is that if you have this burning desire to do something, then put everything aside, change your mindset, and take that leap forward and tackle it. We might have so many constraints in place that is actually stopping us. And then there's a whole long list. Some of them are probably not even in our control. But if there's things that just require you to say, okay, today I'm going to be doing this, today I'm going to be doing that, then get on with it and do it. Otherwise, we are going to be left behind, and we're going to be in this world of however many thousands MCTs we have, and we're not going to be getting that exposure. We're not going to be getting that sort of opportunities that we are seeking. I have so many MCTs as being a community lead, and a lot of people jumping on board or have already jumped on board and will be like, well, what's the next step? What can I do? And one of the first things is, well, do you have the skills? There's always jobs available. There's always learning opportunities available. But the pool of MCTs that we have is very limited because there's always maybe certain individuals going towards one skill set compared to another skill set, etc. So that we will see based on the favorites we have, right? But what the idea is, try to take that leap forward and get on with the learning, get on getting those skills. And if you then are left behind, it becomes quite a problem. Thereafter, once I have that mindset, motivation. Well, what is really driving us to actually take that next step forward? It might be something like fame, might be money, making a difference, or even trying to improve yourself. I'm here on this stage today. I don't do a lot of talking in front of a room. I'll be very honest, I struggle with that. I don't like it. I'm not a big fan. Yes, maybe when I'm talking about Power BI, it's a different story. When I'm talking about myself and how I'm trying to make it better for others, it is something I don't open up to as often as I should be doing. I might talk about it privately, like how I've been doing it throughout the summit, of what I've been doing. But in an audience like this, it's one of the things I need to do a lot more often. And I'm happy that I'm here presenting in a room like-minded, where we are all trainers. And we trying to find ways, we've attended so many sessions to see how we can get better at training. So that's one of the motivations that gets me going to be a successful trainer, to be that particular person that really can outshine a lot of other different audiences, other trainers that we have out there.
I'm going to heckle now and say you did a great job, Chintan.
Yes.
Chill.
Yes, thank you. Thanks a lot. Okay. So we try to ensure that we have all these things in place, and what really also then putting this all together, what really helped me go over the edge and go further with it is that networking and support, the communication and the connections that I've had with other MCTs over the years, trying to make sure I'm successful, and MCTs that cared, MCTs that really gave me new opportunities over the years. I really like to thank them, and some of them are in this room, some of them are in this summit, and they really helped me reach that next level as well. But it also means not just in person. It could be in the forum, it could be in a lounge, the MCT lounge that we have. And it's important to constantly network. Yes, we can't always be at a physical event, try to be at a virtual event. Interact with somebody. Once you've got their contact details, be in touch with them. It's very important that we're always trying to identify where we can help each other. One particular problem I have in South Africa is that a lot of the MCTs like to remain in silos. They don't like to talk to each other. They think that we're competing, and if I'm going to go talk to them, I'm stealing ideas, and it's all sorts of things like that. And I'm trying to break that boundary, that barrier that, well, look, we're all there looking out for each other. There's lots of work available, but maybe through knowing somebody, through talking to somebody, it can help me somewhere down the line, which I am going to be getting to in a moment. So once we've gotten the ingredients, identifying what we really need to do, we trying to identify the approach. This is the step-by-step instructions, step-by-step methods that we have on how to create, say, this particular masterpiece, this ultimate training experience that we have over here. So everybody's approach is different. And what I'm hoping to just say is, again, through my personal experience, maybe it inspires, maybe people can add on to it as well. So everybody's approach is going to be different. And what was my approach is that I started, as I said, training in 2016. Before that, I was a systems administrator, very technical, and did a lot of technical support. And I started teaching all the office courses that I had that were available. I continued doing this. I got excellent results. People really wanted me all the time. I got poached from one place to the other, or clients kept on asking me for me every time. It was really great, and I still get that today. But again, I felt that that there's such a larger market that where we need to also open ourselves up to, so that continues, because that remained in a very closed space. And that closed space is still there, and I still get all these opportunities. But going back to that burning desire is that I really wanted to push myself, overcome a whole lot of challenges in terms of skill sets. I come from a systems administrator background, which was a very long time ago, and 10 years passed, and then the training came. So I forgot a lot about a lot of things. So I jumped into end user, and I'm trying to get back into technical again. So I felt at that point when I wanted to move to technical, and I was busy inside the office courses, it felt like I was stuck in this repetitive cycle, doing this course over and over and over again. I got so bored with it. And it was at that time I felt that. Nowadays it's different because now I've got a variety of skill sets, and I'm still happy to go back to what I was working with. But back then, I felt that I needed to actually have something more, something better that I can work with, and it really dropped my motivation levels for quite some time. So then I thought, well, if I'm going to be jumping to something higher, I need to find that right transition. And at the time, Power BI was my best option. The transition from Excel to Power BI for me was quite easy based on the preparation that I put in, based on the ingredients that I had at my disposal. So I got myself studying, I got myself through all the different resources that were available to me, and then I started attempting exams. The very first Power BI exams, anyone remember what they were? Before that? Dash 778 and 779 combined as well. So yeah, and so the course codes kept on changing, but Power BI remained Power BI as we carried on. So then I have this situation over here, and I'm very happy to share it. Not a lot of people will share it, but this is my record of Power BI from 2018 to 2023 of how badly I've been doing. And if we count the numbers, it's essentially quite a lot of failures that I've been through. And again, well, the content has changed from what it was to what it was now. It was still Power BI though, and I really thought at that first exam that, okay, great, I think I was so confident I was going to do it, and I just hit a fail. And then what we will see that in between there were certain months where I tried to attempt it once more. Then it also jumped to maybe a gap between 1 year and another year. It still really went bad. But then I started looking at, well, it happened at the Power Platform fundamentals level, and then at the Azure data fundamentals level, where things started becoming a little bit easier to grasp. But why all these failures? Why didn't I just pass like maybe a whole lot of people, maybe I saw on LinkedIn, this passed the first time around, the second time around. And it was all based on the experience that I've garnered over the years. So I come from a systems administration background. Power BI, for those who've gone through it, has a lot of business components and financial components in some sense with DAX and the likes. And in system administration, I didn't touch any of that. I was lost. It was a foreign language to me. And we know when we are trying to learn another language how long it really takes to actually get to that step. And I then had to go through all that effort to try and identify what I need to do to get to that level. So it meant that I may have had to get skills, great, have to learn more, but what was really the point where it started getting better is trying to maybe do a lot more test teachers, ask other MCTs to maybe look at me and see what I'm doing wrong. I was not afraid to ask somebody, well, where am I going wrong? What am I doing wrong? Why am I not getting this? And I was failing in terms of just very close to the pass rate. And obviously we all try to aim for the highest pass rate that we have there. But there were certain sections where I just was not getting it right. And so I had to go through demonstrations. I had to use all sorts of maybe different approaches for the content. And until that point on the 31st of March 2023, I finally passed it. And that was a big turning point because probably in between 2022 and 23, lots of requests were coming through to me. We need you to teach Power BI. And I said, sorry, I can't. I can't teach the course, even though you possibly could. There's bespoke solutions and you could do a lot of end user training. I felt that that certification was so important. I really needed that to make sure that I have that credibility if somebody has a question and that I can answer it. Mark, you want to say something quickly?
Just I want to comment. I find that to be fantastic because you said something earlier on that there's plenty of business, and especially when you start in the business, you get the impression that the training centers have all the power and you need to do anything, and we actually hold the knife by the handle because Shinton is extremely successful. He's been, and to be fair to that, I know that besides this situation, he passed AI 102, which few people do. Okay, but here is proving someone who is an MCT, an MVP, a community lead, and he's just like us. Yeah. He has failed exams. He might have failed more than some, less than some, and things like that, and still he's getting a ton of business. And I just want to stress that you're in a very strong position as an MCT by the community and things like that. And I just find that you posting that is amazing. I will be honest, I would not dare do that for my own screenshot.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. So what I'm trying to get out of this here is that the lesson here is that we have to have that determination to take that first step. Take that first step. It may not always be successful. There will be a lot of curveballs thrown at you, and we just have to persist. As I persisted here, go forth with it, because at the point of 31st of March, then after that, it's been Power BI non-stop. I've probably been requested to teach, and that was South Africa. It was also a bit of overseas request, at least 3 or 4 times a month, PR 300, just kept on coming. It was in demand at the time, and it's still in demand as I go back to it. So when we want that, we have that determination, we have that desire to go forth with it, really push, and we will succeed. It may not be maybe after all of these efforts here, it might be at the second, might be at the third for you, and you're really lucky. But at least you've gone through that second or third. Don't stop. Even at the 2018 and 19, I felt quite hopeless, but I just continued with it thereafter. So then, what is something that I can then round off with our approach? Is that we have some broad steps that help, that I really looked at from all of this. Is that we don't start with souffles. We must master pancakes first. Crawl before we walk. It perfectly summarizes my journey. I built a solid foundation. I became a subject matter expert in what I was, and then I took that next step forward. There were multiple opportunities that came past me to say that, well, I can take this, I can take that, but I was not ready yet. I didn't want to take a step and then say, well, I tried it and then I failed and then my credibility is actually lost. I tried to go through as many different activities, many different exams to actually build that solid foundation. Choose something closely related to what you already know. There's many things I could have jumped into Azure, into Dynamics. I could have jumped into so many things, but I stuck to this. And the next step I'm taking now is AI. As Mark said, AI 102 was a very big leap that I took. And that is my next step for me. That is, well, I want to go and further with that. And even at the point of starting to develop a whole lot of solutions. Once upon a time, I was a developer as well. I love C#. And so I want to try and make the world a better place with what AI has available today. Then our next one is, master your chosen topic. So be the subject matter expert, but get really good at it. And it's not something achieved overnight. Think of it like layering a trifle. Each layer builds on the previous one. You want to try and get yourself involved in many activities that will shape your knowledge around the given topic. In my area, specifically for Excel, has anybody heard of the events that have been taking place in the States and worldwide, the Financial Modeling World Cup for Microsoft Excel? So it's the world's biggest Excel competition at the moment, and we get a lot of financial minded individuals doing these crazy challenges, and they get all these big prizes sponsored by individuals and activities like that. And I think, well, people here can correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not very clued up in that, but there's various hackathons that take place, so there's boot camps. So there's something of that kind that really, it doesn't add to, say, formal credentials as such, but it gives you a whole lot of inspiration that, well, there's so many things that I could do with the topic that I've learned. It's not just exams, it's not just some maybe another assessment that I have to do. Try a challenge out there. I think last week I saw on LinkedIn there's Power BI challenges that we can do from Microsoft, and it's something new I learned. They give you the data set, solve a problem, and publish a report, make it public. Something that I'm willing to try. And then thereafter, we repeat until refined. Great chefs taste as they go. Great trainers refine their methods. So I failed this exam 7 times before passing on the 8th attempt. And each failure was a learning opportunity. I tried to identify where I went wrong. I filled my knowledge gaps, and then I just kept on trying again and again and again. And there were those moments where I felt, well, I don't know what I'm going to be doing anymore. And some new resources came out, some new techniques came out. I would actually like to thank, I know Sarah, you came after this, but when they first launched the exam prep videos on Microsoft Learn, I think that gave me the push. So that gave me a real push to say that this was really what I needed to identify, and Linda was the one doing that, and it really did help to get me past that particular point. And then we take that leap of faith and book a class. You can't bake a cake until you crack an egg. Take what you have learned. Take what we have gathered so far. Then build the content that we have. Put it all together. And then find that courage to take that first step of booking your first class that we have over here. And once we have booked that first class, well, it's time to teach. And we've been seeing so many different sessions, and I don't need to go through it all of what you have learned. I've got a whole lot of similar or probably the same things that a lot of other trainers have talked about. But what I'd like to mention, that out of the different sessions that we've attended in the last 2 days at the summit, of how do we teach, what techniques we use, what tools we use. There was a great session that Sarah, Julian, and Tiago had on the different apps and services and tools we have. And take whatever you have learned and make this training framework. Build your own signature framework that we have. Every chef has a signature style, and that's what makes them successful. They become maybe that Michelin star chef. And it's because of that people just keep on coming back wanting that particular dish. So every trainer should have their own personal training framework. I have my own training framework, and that's why it probably brings a whole lot of people back. And what are some of the things that contribute to creating that framework is probably your style of teaching, and that will probably improve over time. To tell you what you need to do. One of the things that helped me specifically from moving from Excel to Power BI was I was doing a lot of hands-on instructions, very theoretical, and using theoretical examples. And eventually I got onto storytelling, using relevant real examples. It also then told me to take that shift and start being almost consultative with your training. So try to find a solution for your client, and through that particular solution, give the training. So there's almost an overlap of what we need to do, and help your client then with the training that you provided, apply that particular set of concepts so that they can achieve the solution that they're looking for. Experiment with different approaches. Look at how you can find a solution for something that doesn't exist at the moment. Take the feedback. We get feedback through training. We get feedback in all sorts of ways. And if you see some of my previous sessions that I've done for the MCT program, which have been made available through different summits, is that I talk a lot about our metrics that matter tool that a lot of people like. So a lot of people don't like. I'm a big fan of it. I really like it. One of the few that really do love it. And we get something out of it. We get told what, how well we are doing and what we should be improving on. We want to take that feedback and see where we can do better. Take it objectively and learn from it as much as you can. And once you put that all together, you will create hopefully our own signature recipe, a tried and tested framework that helps us master and teach complex technical subjects quite effectively. So then we look at concluding that by following these steps, starting small, layering all this knowledge that we have, and refining our approach, we'll be on our way to hopefully being one of the most influential trainers, one of the trainers that I'm very proud to look up to. Andrew, yourself, I really look up to you. You've been a great inspiration. Mark, yourself as well. So I really want to just say that it's not a one-time process. It's a continuous journey of learning, continuous improvement that we have to put in. It just doesn't stop. Yes, Sarah?
Is there an opportunity, and I'm asking all of you, to be honest, is that, you're such a great community. All of you seem to be very close with each other. Is there an opportunity, so let's say Shinten, you want to teach, I don't know, PL300, and Julian's teaching it, and you have the opportunity to fly there. Is there an opportunity for you guys to co-deliver or sit in the class and shadow? Have you ever done that?
Yeah.
Yeah?
We've done that with Sarah Penner, comes
Yeah.
on security courses, and it breaks up the class really well.
Yeah.
And they love it because they can get bored of one noise,
Right.
especially on the virtual ones.
Yeah.
Sarah,
That's
I've done it with
very-
Julian. It
yeah.
does make a big difference. Do one module each and swap. It's great.
Yeah, because internally, us trainers at Microsoft, we co-deliver, right? We always co-deliver, especially a class that's got 50 plus. We co-deliver. Yeah.
Do classes of 50
Yeah.
plus.
So that's a great way too of, really, becoming, because it can be very scary for the first time to teach a class that you've never sat in, or you've never, it's your first time. Like, I'm going to teach PL300, you don't know how to do it. So to be able to co-deliver or even shadow,
The other way of doing
let me know if there's something we could do on the MCT Lounge to support you all. Maybe we can create a form or like a schedule, and maybe, I don't know if you want to share each other's schedules or support each other. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, but the other one I've done is where you've got 2 or 3 students, but then you've got 2 or 3 entities and moderation. You actually model chat. So I've done it to like 1,000, 2,000 people at once. And you've just got hundreds of questions coming in a day. So you need the technical people
Exactly.
in
Mark, yes?
Yeah, I think the issue is going to be, let's be honest, a lot of the training business is around economics, and the TSP don't want to pay for 2 trainers. And even if I'm delivering only half of the time, I need to be paid for the 5 days or the 4
Right.
days I'm
That's
delivering.
why I was asking
Right,
that. Yeah.
and it might be different in the MTT and also larger country space where you will have the classes of 50. A class of 8 is considered to be a big class in Switzerland. So to have
Good
2
point.
trainers
I never
there
thought of that. Yeah.
at a rather high rate, because it is Switzerland. I'm not against bankrupting a TSP or 2, but still, they don't like it for reasons I can't
You know, I might even talk to our internal Microsoft team and see about getting external MCTs to shadow our classes.
love to.
That might be interesting, but also
Yeah.
I like
You all sign an NDA.
yeah, but I also like the idea of potentially having support in the labs, because if I got more than
Yeah.
8 people,
Yeah.
12, 15, 20 people, I struggle to get to the
Especially
labs
AC
on
104.
time.
You're like,
resolve technical glitches as well.
yeah.
Possibly
Let's
from
talk
another
about this.
There used to be I think in the program at one time there was a somewhat limit supposedly that you shouldn't have have more than 12 students in a classroom. So that might be a break point, is as soon as there is, more than 12, 15, start breaking it up and push that idea to the TSPs also.
Yeah.
To their channel.
Yeah, I'll talk to the TSP team too. Making them once a month.
Thanks, Sarah. Good idea.
Right. Thanks, everyone. That was really the end. Yes. Yes. Thank you.
One more question, because you just kind of told us about, going from office to technical trainer. What do you think that technical trainers, the ones that were born in Azure or Microsoft 365, would gain from the office trainer? And the reason I'm asking that is I've been called upon to do some office training from time to time, and quite honestly, I'm less comfortable. I find it more challenging because the audience you have is not IT people that are on the same wavelengths that you are and have different expectations. And as you know, I've always felt that office trainers have better training skills than the technical trainers. So what are your thoughts having gone from one way to going the other?
So I think as the one of the things that I use as a technique in AI 102, I suppose the audience will always be different, but patience is that big thing that you just got to work with the individuals that you have. That our credibility is on the line if we are going to be trying to show some, attitude or so that you're getting irritated that they're not getting it. Well, for me, I personally come from an environment, my systems administration career. I was dealing with a whole bunch of advocates and attorneys who were in their late 80s and 90s or so, and that was for 5 years, and they just had to. It was a nightmare in the beginning, and eventually I got to learn to be patient with them, and I felt that patience really helped me going forward. And another thing was that I suppose it's because of the audience I have, but it could probably be anywhere. Is that I started trying to make the training content quite relevant to the end user if they've not made, if it doesn't really make sense to them. I take the extra step to simplify it as much as I can. So I can say for South Africa, for example, where literacy levels aren't the greatest in the world, I can't take learn content as is and give it to them. They will not understand it. So I have to go through extra effort, almost recreating or modifying some of that content. The idea still stays the same, but I try to make it into easier language, or I use metaphors, as I did so in my presentation, to try and relate it to them better. And whilst there's a whole lot of extra effort involved into that, then I found that the satisfaction was much better at the end.
I should share with everyone speaking on the food metaphor. So Shinton told me about this presentation, and he's been with me for close to a week with this one wife. And he said, I'm putting a food metaphor in the presentation, and I've been struggling to try to find food that is vegan, to a Frenchman, no meat, no wine. And I'm like, you don't know anything about food. What are you presenting on food?
Yeah. All right. I think we have got to go to the next closing session. Thank you. But happy to chat afterwards. Thank you. Yeah.